Let's head back to Petco, where Kevin Acee has been covering the Padres for this midweek series against the Giants. What a series it was for the Padres. They sweep through the Giants. They snapped that 4-game losing streak. They're heading into the month of May at 19-11 overall. Kevin, always appreciate you taking time for us. What changed? How did they do this? They were so anemic for those 4 or 5 games. I think 5 runs in 5 games. Offensively, they looked like a different team over the last 2 days.
Yeah, I don't see how it could be considered coincidence that Luis Ariz was back, and heck, credit to Jason Hayward, right?
Yeah.
I really do think there was a confidence boost. Now, obviously, we've been talking a lot about Xander Bogaerts. He had a big game the first night, so that was big. But I just really don't see how you get around that. First off, Luis Ariz reached base. Luis Ariz continued rallies multiple times in both games. So that was just big. Top of the order. They felt better. They played better.
One thing we were talking about, Kevin, is the fact that in a 2-game stretch here, you had an off day Monday, an off day tomorrow. Schilt really unloaded the clip in the bullpen. Like, he only used, 4 top guys. Now, granted, they had a lead every time, so it was easier to use them, but kind of just saying, all right, we're going for it in these 2 games here. I love that approach from Mike Schilt.
Well, sure. I think sometimes fans think that's what the schedule is all the time, right? Like, based on the emails I get, right? Like, wait, why didn't he use this guy? Well, he's pitched 3 days in a row, or, he's pitched 14 times in the last 20 days or whatever. And, this was perfect. Now, I would have asked Mike if he would prefer a schedule like this, but he would have just gone on to tell me how he loves all his relievers and he would like to use them. But the fact is, like you said, he only used these 4, and there was a reason. And as shaky as it was today, to some extent, they got the job done again. They were perfect last night after Jeremiah Estrada. It's a really good back end of the bullpen. You had your top 2 bullpens in baseball right now in this series. I thought it was a really well pitched series all the way through, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the starting pitching with Pivetta and King, and then the bullpen doing enough for the Padres the last 2 days. Now, you mentioned Xander, and what a sigh of relief, and what a big moment. I mean, he was a primary reason as to why they won yesterday. No doubt about it. 2-out single in the first that starts a 3-run rally, later adds on with the 2-run home run. Do you have any sense of what that meant for Xander? Like, do you feel that from him? I know he didn't have a hit here today, but like, what that felt like to finally have a breakthrough game after waiting for it all month long? I'm
pretty darn sure that it was bigger than he let on. And I also think that the whole series was pretty decent for him. He felt good today. I thought what I saw was the better swings. I know it was whatever it was, 0 for 4, and he struck out, but he hit the ball hard. That's not necessarily the most important thing. The swing just looks better. And since, these guys focus so much more on process than the rest of us, I do think it was like a big series for him. But the guy's kind of a mess, like, in terms of he always fiddles a lot with his stance, his swing, and when he's struggling, he's a prideful man. He's been one of the best hitters in baseball for a decade before coming here. He's tinkering a bit. So I think it was big, and now we'll see.
What's the outlook here for Jackson Merrill returning in that Yankees series? Pretty good?
Yeah, right now it looks pretty good. All things are on track. I mean, right now, I think the sense that I have is like maybe Brandon Lockridge here in Pittsburgh, and he might be a day or something ahead of Merrill. And then, look, Merrill could push and surprise. Jackson Merrill's huge, man. This the boost that was given the last couple of days. They would anticipate it would be even greater, right? They get back the guy who was, I don't want to say carrying them, because a lot of guys were actually doing pretty well for them to be 8-2 when Jackson went down. But Jackson, some pretty big hits, and is just his energy. Look, I haven't heard it ruled out that he would join, but in Pittsburgh. But the target is New York on Monday, and then the target is Jake Cronenworth on Friday in Colorado.
With Cronenworth specifically, I think you reported on this initially. So he had that non-displaced fracture, and it was going to be a little bit of a pain tolerance situation. Is that how it's still being describe that? I mean, it still has to, when you break a bone, you have to fully heal it. But if he's able to play with a bit of pain, then he's going to play. Because May 9th, I mean, that's not that much time that he's going to ultimately miss because of a fractured rib.
Right, 4 weeks, maybe a little bit more than 4 weeks, I think, and that's the minimum, right? That but like 6 weeks probably healed, like 100%, I think. But he's going to come back before that, probably a flak jacket of some sort, since the only way that it could get re-injured, theoretically, or that's what they think is for him to be hit there again. So look, when you watch him, it looks like he's ready to go. But obviously they got to be a little careful with a fractured rib, and you don't want it to happen again. But I mean, you watch him play. Heck, I watched him get interact with the Giants players, and I'm like, man, be careful. Guys patting him on the side and stuff. I think I think that he is as good as he says he is doing. He's itching to get back, and it like I said, it looks like what is today, Wednesday? So I mean, we're still talking about then 9 days, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they're looking good there.
Yeah, get this guy in some bubble wrap. Tyler Wade, I think he deserves some love. I think what he has done.
Good for you. Yes.
He has, and I've been critical of Tyler Wade for sure, but what he has done this year is more than what they could have asked for a guy that got DFA'd, then came back, came up. He's not ever going to be this guy like Jackson Merrill. He's never going to be that, but he has contributed in a very meaningful way so far this season when he's called upon.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is, right, like a guy like Tyler Wade, I just said right, that's one of Tyler Wade's things after every sentence. So maybe I just went into the mode. The beautiful thing of a guy like Tyler Wade is this balance of knowing what you just said is true, that he's not going to be Jackson Merrill, but then him not really believing he's not Jackson Merrill, which is great. That's exactly what you want, right? Yeah. And I just think that he's a professional baseball player. This guy could reach 10 years of service time and beyond based on just being on teams and probably winning teams. $1 million a year for the rest of his career because of what he does on and off the field. But to your point, that's cool if he's, a 240 hitter. But the fact that he is being on base at a 350 clip while filling in for Merrill, that's sensational. I will say this, what you said is basically the good and bad of Tyler Wade being their center fielder for the last 2 weeks. He has played about as good as you could expect, better than you could expect. And it's still nowhere near Jackson Merrill. And that is why the Padres were 2-7 going into the last 2 games.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Merrill's going to, you get Merrill that they lost and you're getting a lot better when he returns. Kevin Acee is our Padres Insider. He's with us right now on Jon and Jim. What's going to change, Kevin, with this 4-man rotation moving forward? When's the next time they're going to need that fifth a starter, and who are the candidates or what's most likely there?
Well, Dylan Cease goes on Friday, so then he would then again go. They need a guy in New York,
right?
So we'll see. From my understanding, Kyle Hart didn't lose that job. This was the plan from the beginning, right? I hinted at it a couple of weeks ago that it was going to happen, and it was just kind of an obvious time. There's too much time. Pivetta and King, right, just pitched on 6 days rest, and that's not what they want. So, not what the pitchers want, or that your 2 best pitchers, or at least 2 of your best 3, and certainly your 2 best right now. You don't want them resting that much. But the fact is, now with 6 straight games coming up, you're going to have to sub in Kyle Hart, and gosh. I don't know that you try to put a bullpen game together against the Yankees or that you try to make Stephen Kolek. You bring Kyle Hart back up probably. And then you could go back to the 4-man, I think, one more time, but it's then you're going back again. And by the end of May, that's when they start playing 13 in a row, day off, 13 in a row, day off, 10 in a row or something like that. So from June 1st to the All-Star break, they'll be going with the 5-man rotation.
And then what about Darvish? Any update with him?
Yeah, well, there's another good point because that's the guy who would come in just about that time. or at least barring setback, going to throw to hitters is the plan this weekend in Arizona, which is where all the injured guys will be. With Scott Hacker, there's the physical therapist. The guy's usually on the road with the team, but with all the big names that are going to be in Arizona, that's where he'll be. And Darvish does his first, whether it's simulated game, we call it, or live batting practice, probably do that a couple times there. And then I don't know where Elsinore is, or, where San Antonio is, or whatever. Does a couple rehab starts, gets up. I mean, gosh, he's up to 35 pitches doing it in the bullpen where he was pitching close to full intensity. I think that's plenty of time for him to get up to 5 innings and get back in. Maybe get a start or two in before they face the Dodgers.
Favorite road city to visit for you? Because you're heading out to what? Pittsburgh, New York, and Colorado. Do you have a top 2-ish list of cities to visit in Major League Baseball?
Love Pittsburgh.
The city or the ball? The ballpark's spectacular, isn't it?
Both. The ballpark is spectacular. The ballpark is basic. It just is basic, but the view is amazing. I mean, the ballpark's pretty, but it's not like Petco or Oracle or something. It's just the view, and it's just a city of views and greenery and rock and old buildings, and it's nice people, and it's just it's my favorite in terms. But you don't beat Wrigley, you just don't. So that's the cathedral. If I could just lean on a cliche, it just is. You walk in there, and I think maybe we talked about it. You walk in there, and you feel different. But I do love Pittsburgh, man. I probably the first place I look every year, when's the Pittsburgh trip? So yeah, it's nice. It's real nice. I love it.
All right. It's not the Oakland Coliseum, but it'll do this weekend.
Or the Sacramento Coliseum
or whatever it is.
I'll take the Oakland Coliseum over what we did there a couple of weeks ago.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Controversial. Not really.
No.
Kevin, safe travels. We will catch up from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was going to say, what is it called? What is Pittsburgh called?
Oh, will we? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Wednesday. We'll catch up in Pittsburgh.
Friday.
You'll catch me in every city.
Yeah, we'll catch you everywhere.
In all 3 cities.
Yes. Thanks, Kevin.
Right. See ya.
Travel safe. What do they call Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh?
You know what I mean? Like cities are like the Big Apple. What is Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh?
3 Rivers?
Steel City.
Steel City. I'm such an idiot. I was going to say, we're going to catch up. I couldn't think of Pittsburgh's nickname.
I knew that. I just didn't want to tell you.
They only have a football team named after it.
What are they called?
The Steelers.
I'm kidding. All right, let's react to our conversation with Kevin on the other side, Jon and Jim.
26.
We just had Kevin on the show. I think the takeaway for me is that Darvish maybe sooner rather than later. He's actually really kind of ramping up. He's up to 35 pitch bullpens, and it is now May, or it will be tomorrow. And I don't know what the plan is, but he made some good points that they'll play 13 consecutive games a couple of times in May. And then they'll play 10 consecutive games. So when you start thinking about when are you going to rely on Darvish, they've had so many off days. They haven't really even needed him, so to speak. But there's going to be a time, late May, early June, you get the Dodgers in there and the Giants, and there's some stretches in there. They're going to need Darvish, and hopefully he's back at some point in late May.
You got 5 off days in May.
Okay, 5 more in May. Okay. How many in June?
They just have 2 in June.
Yeah, they'll need him by early June.
The thing about what Kevin said about Darvish is at the very end there, he mentioned, maybe the Dodgers series. That's not until June.
And that's June what? 12th?
June 9th.
Okay.
So it's still well over a month away.
That's a ways off.
That is a ways off.
Yep.
They are taking this thing and treating Darvish with kid gloves here, which they probably should. The dude's thrown 1 million innings in his career.
Yeah. They might need him in September, October.
Right.
They're off to a good start.
So for this, I think keeping Darvish as healthy as you possibly can is a huge priority. And you do not want to rush it, because when you get Jackson Merrill and Jake Cronenworth back, and you saw what this team did without Darvish to start the year, they went 14-3, and those still with some injuries. You get those guys back, you're not relying so much on Darvish. And Kyle Hart, he's pitched fine. I know he's not, back in this rotation just yet, but he's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Randy Vasquez has been fine, but your top guys have been really good that have been led the way.
Do you want to hear a really weird sentence?
No.
From Tim Haggerty, the AAA voice of the Padres.
Oh, sure. Love Tim Haggerty.
Luis Campusano and Mike Brousseau both just homered for the Chihuahuas against Clayton Kershaw.
What?
Wait, what? Yeah, it's the weirdest sentence. Like, okay, so Clayton Kershaw is on a rehab stint in AAA Oklahoma City. Kershaw had thrown 4 shutout innings, but the Chihuahuas have scored 3 runs in the 5th on home runs from Luis Campusano and Mike Brousseau. We spent a little bit of time yesterday talking about Campy, like with some of the lack of productivity from the catchers. Would we see Campy just because of his offense? But then again, Jim, 19-11 with one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. Like bizarre productivity at times from Diaz. You know, like, I don't know if we're going to see Campusano. They're 19-11. I don't know if they, quote unquote, need to rock the boat with the pitching staff for these batteries based on how they're playing.
Well, if Elias Diaz is hitting home runs in the major leagues for you.
Multiple this week.
I know. You had 2 hits today, I think.
I think you're right. He did. And a home run.
Did he have a hit yesterday, or was that Maldonado? Who played yesterday behind the
I
plate?
think it might have been Maldonado yesterday. There's no way they went night and day with the same catcher. So it had to be Maldonado yesterday, right?
All right,
or was it Diaz?
Yesterday, Diaz had multiple hits.
Diaz played back-to-back with the day game.
He went 2 for 4
Okay.
with the run scored last night.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got where's this game? Where did it? Here we go. And then you got today's game.
Mm-hmm.
Diaz went 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored and an RBI because he had that home run. Went 4 for 8 this series with 3 runs scored and a home run.
I don't think they need to make any real change with their catchers. Again, is it going to give you the offense you got last year? No. But if you got a good pitching staff and they're calling games with that pitching staff, I think they're just going to continue to do what they've been doing. But Campy's been hot. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So if he stays hot, maybe we'll see him at some point this year. I don't know what the numbers are, but they've been terrific, I think, for the first month of the season.
Now, El Paso is a very hitters friendly, park. Campy to me is gonna need a new change of scenery,
new organization.
Yeah, just to get in good graces of the team.
So he's got heading into today, a 999 OPS. Do you think he has a higher or lower than 999 OPS if he's called back up?
No, he's not going to have a 999 OPS in the big leagues.
Close. He's hit 6 home runs in 23 games.
If he played any other position, he is at the big league level right now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
but they just you're not going to carry 3 catchers on your roster.
Not now. Maybe in September. Well, probably in September, but not.
Well, maybe eventually now. Martin Maldonado will just play himself off the team because he's so awful.
Potentially. We'll see Campy at some point this year if he keeps doing this.
But hey, when you look at the numbers, Martin Maldonado had better numbers than Elias Diaz going into yesterday's game.
Right.
And then Elias Diaz goes 4 for 8 in this series. Or no, sorry.
Yeah.
4 for 8.
I think you're right.